Hi and welcome to another in a series of videos where I attempt to build projects from this book, Make Electronics by Charles Platt. It's the third edition that I'm using. If you also want to make them, I thoroughly recommend getting a copy and you'll find links in the description. So far everything we've built has been connected with test leads or assembled on a breadboard. And those solutions are great if you're just experimenting or you're just building a prototype. But when you want something that's a bit more permanent, they don't really cut it. For that reason, you really need to learn soldering. And that's what we'll be looking at in the experiments today. Now, hands up, I am appallingly bad at soldering. I have not great eyesight and very poor hand-eye coordination. So it's generally pretty messy, but I'll do my best with it. So let's give it a go and see how we get on.
So I'm just getting ready for the first soldering task now. So the first thing I'm going to do is just check. Yeah, at the moment I've got a narrow tip on the iron, which is good for detail work, but I think as we're just soldering two pieces of crossed wire for this first task, I'm going to swap that out. So I'm going to take that one off and replace it with this one, which has got more of a chisel edge on it, so it'll give us a wider surface area. So I'm just going to pop that on. Oop. Okay, now I'm going to switch the iron on. And I'm using lead-free solder today, so we want to select a suitable temperature. So let's dial this up to, oops, wrong way. Let's dial this up to 330. That's degrees centigrade in my case. Just let that heat up to the correct temperature. Okay. Now, before I start work, I need to just tin the tip. So I'm just going to melt a little bit of solder on the end of the tip. Just remove the excess with some brass wool. Okay. Now normally when I'm doing this work I would have the extractor fan on, but as you can hear it's very noisy. So I'm going to do this one with it off so that you can hear me talking, but I would normally recommend that you do have the extractor fan on when you're soldering. And the other thing of course is wear goggles, because solder can splash and you don't want it getting in your eye. Okay, so you can see I've got the two wires crossed and they're held in place with these helping hands here. So two things to definitely not do. One that won't work. One is to try and melt the solder on the soldering iron and then carry it to the work. This will not work. The other thing that isn't going to work is to put the solder across the join and to try and melt it onto the join. That's not going to work either. So what you need to do is to make sure that the iron is in contact with both sides of the joint. wait until they reach the same temperature as the iron, and then add the solder and let it flow across the joint. And what I'll now do is just check that we've got a good join in two ways. Firstly, let's just check that we've got continuity between the two pieces of wire. Yep, that's all good. And then the second check is to make sure that we've got a solid physical bond. So I'll take the wire out, and if I tug it, yeah, that is nice and solid. Maybe a little bit too much solder on there, to be honest, but that's a good first attempt. So of course, normally if you're joining two component leads together, you won't want them crossed at 90 degrees like we had them there. That was just purely for the purpose of experimenting with an initial attempt at soldering. But if you're joining two component leads together, normally you'll want them aligned like this. So let's have a go at this. So again, same principle, just going to clean my tip. I'm going to make sure that the tip is in contact with both leads, heat them up, and I'm going to start applying solder across the join. And then once again, let's do the same test as before. So first the continuity test. That's good. Now let's make sure that we've got a good physical join. Yep, that's nice and solid. Not too much solder, maybe a tad too much. So now the next thing is that obviously we've got a bit of bare wire here where the join is, and that's a danger to us of shorting out the circuit if that's moving around inside an equipment box, for example. So what we want to do is insulate that. One way we could do that, of course, is by using electrical tape. And, you know, that's fine if you want something that's just temporary, if it's just a quick experiment or a prototype. I mean, here you can see a battery lead that I've done that way. But this also shows the disadvantage, which, as you can see, is the tape is already starting to peel away. And over time, it gets very ragged and it catches on things. So it's not very satisfactory for a permanent solution. So the solution is to use this stuff. This is heat shrink. And the way we use it is to firstly just cut off what we want is a small section that's just a little bit longer than we need to cover the exposed bit of wire. So about there should do it. I'm just going to snip a bit off. Now, let's just put one end of the wire in the clamp. Slide the heat shrink over the join. It's going to be loose initially. That's fine. And now what we need is a hot air gun, ideally, although I have seen people do this successfully with a cigarette lighter. But I'm going to use a hot air gun. Just wait for it to get up to temperature. Okay. And then basically just play the hot air over the heat shrink and it will contract around the wire. That should do it. And as you can see, now we've got a nice snug fitting sleeve around that join, which is just going to prevent us getting any unnecessary shorts from that bit of wire. So one of the issues that you can have with soldering is that some components, for example LEDs or basically any semiconductors, can be a little bit sensitive to too much heat. And it is possible to damage a component if you take too long or you use too high a temperature. So one of the things the book suggests is to run this little experiment. And what you can see here is we've just got this poor little 3mm LED kind of strung up here with a current limiting resistor because we don't want the current from the battery to blow it. So now what I'm going to do is apply the tip of a hot iron to the lead of the LED, and let's just see how long it can cope with that level of heat. It's doing pretty well. Oh, and there we go. Did you see that? Gave a little final flutter and then gave up the ghost. So that is unfortunately yet another dead LED. So one thing you can do as a precaution is to get hold of some copper alligator clips like this. And you can see these ones have got a nice kind of flat set of jaws, which makes them nice and easy to just apply to the lead of your LED. And basically what you want to do is have this attached to your LED lead above the point where you're placing the iron. And that way the excess heat from the iron will go into the copper alligator clip rather than travelling up to the sensitive parts of the component. So effectively the alligator clip here is acting as a heat sink. So I do recommend practicing soldering. As you can see, even if you're not great at it like me, you can still get a reasonable join with a bit of practice. But if you really don't fancy it at all, there are a couple of alternatives. So one is you can make a join with terminal blocks like this. And normally these come in a long strip. So obviously, if we're just joining a couple of leads together, we wouldn't need all of it. So you can just cut them down to size with a craft knife. So let me just cut off the block here. So let's imagine, for instance, I've got a couple of components here that have had lead soldered to them, a switch and a relay. So let's imagine I want to attach two of the contacts of the switch to across the leads from the relay coil. Then it's just a case of using a screwdriver. Let me get these out of the way. Using a screwdriver to just open up the screw on each side of the terminal block. And they're normally quite small, so you probably need a precision screwdriver for this. Then we pop our leads in. Just make sure that they're kind of well inside. You haven't got any exposed lead on the outside of the block. And then once they're in place, just tighten up the screw. And a couple of things to just watch out for. One is to make sure that what you're actually clamping down with the screw is the bare metal of the wire and not part of the insulation. And the other is that it's just nice and tight and secure in there. Let me do the other side here. It's easier to do this with this flat on the and then do the same thing with the other side. This one in. That lead is a bit too long. I mean, ideally I would trim it, but just for the sake of expediency, I will leave it as it is. But ideally you want to make sure the insulation is kind of just inside, not poking out as this one is. And this is going to be the same. So just imagine that I've done this properly and not been lazy. But if you are getting that, the best thing to do is just trim a little bit off the edge of the lead. And there we have our connection. So the other alternative is to use these, which are little wire nuts. This is basically just a plastic cap with a spring attached inside. And the way these work is, here we've got 2 bits of wire. Now, if you're using stranded wire rather than solid core wire, the first thing to do is just twist the ends of your stranded wire together just to make sure they're nice and neat and in one block without any sort of strands poking out. Then you want to place your 2 wires together and then just twist them together so that you've got a nice secure join between them. Oops, better than that one. Let me try that again. So you've got a couple of turns in there so that they're nice and secure. And then all you do is just slide that up inside the nut and then just give it a couple of turns. And what it will do is it will pull the strands of the wire into the spring that's in there just to hold them secure and to give you a nice secure contact. And there you go. You've got your join. It's got some protection from the elements, and the exposed part of the wire is covered, so it's not going to short anything out in your circuit. So there, 2 methods you can use if you don't like soldering. So another thing the book suggests is you get hold of a AC to DC 9-volt adapter like this, and that you slice the lead off the end to expose the 2 wires, so that you can then basically put those directly into the breadboard and save yourself on 9-volt batteries. And I think if you've got one of these that's kind of lying around that you're not really making use of, then that's a great idea. But if you haven't, rather than buying a new one and butchering it, what I would suggest as an alternative is that you can get these that come with a set of different adapters. And one of the adapters you can get is this one, which, as you can see, is basically a terminal block allowing you to attach wires. So you can just plug this in here, and then you can attach wires to this end. What I would suggest that you do, which again comes from the book, is that you make the wires that you make to attach to go into the breadboard, is that you make the negative one a little bit shorter than the positive one. The reason being that if you leave them unattached and lying around while the power's on, is that they won't short out and ruin your adapter, potentially take out a fuse in your electricity supply or a breaker in your electricity supply. So there you go.
So I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly had a lot of fun with it. And soldering is a very useful skill to develop if you're at all interested in electronics and you want to build permanent projects. And actually in the next episode, we put those new skills to use by building a permanent version of the multi-vibrator light flasher that we looked at in the previous episode. So please do join me for that.